I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerate sleuths of the night. We gather to boldly go where others have refused. Welcome to the DT show, you salty mofos.
A man accused of killing 4 college students is behind bars, and he has ties to northeastern and central Pennsylvania. State police say 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger was arrested this morning in a home in Chestnut Hill Township.
I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
We are expected to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
So, the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
So, get your popcorn ready and your choice of drink. Get your butt on your seat. Like, comment, and subscribe for a treat. Here we go. It's time for the show. The Drunk Turkey Show.
What is up, you salty mofos? I hope you guys changed and checked your clocks, because it feels really early for me. But it's 11:19 out here in Texas in the central side. It's a little past noon in the eastern side, and on the west coast, I know a bunch of you guys are just waking up. So good morning to everybody on this Sunday morning. I hope you guys have had a fantastic and safe weekend. We got a good show for you today, I think. I have a guest with us, a friend of the show. She's been on a handful of times. Jasmine, she goes by Forensic Frenzy on her channel. Jazz, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Good, love. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing a lot better. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if you know. Did you know that I had a little incident with my arm?
I did.
Yeah. And so now it's oh my gosh, I'm probably like this morning I woke up just feeling like it feels a lot better. Like probably my mobility is probably went from about 25% to about 40% now, which is a lot compared to where it was just like 3 weeks ago in my hand. And so I'm hoping to be 100 soon. But
That's
today
good.
I woke up feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I did. I saw it on your community post, and I had told you in the comments. I too have been attacked by a dog before. Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I was under heavy medication during that time. I'll be honest. Yeah, there's a lot that I don't remember.
So was I.
Yeah. We got a couple of super chats ringing in really early. We have Rebecca Bruce coming in with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. And we also have Aaron Miller coming in with a $50 super chat. Thank you. She goes, thank you all for all you do, Daniel. You are spot on this case. Thank you. I appreciate that. And
that's really sweet.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, everybody. So tell me, Jazz, your channel, well, first and foremost, you have some amazing viewers. They reached out to me, and they are the ones who let me know. They're like, hey, what's going on with Forensic Frenzy's channel? Everything's missing. And, so I decided to send out a message to you, see if you're okay. And, instead of me just trying to tell everybody what's going on, I thought we'd bring you on first and foremost. And so what's going on with the channel?
Okay. So overall, what happened there? I think I sent you the email, as you can see. So around the 24th, 25th of February, we got an email basically saying like, you have until the 4th of March, so it was like 10 days, to appeal the decision that we've made. But basically we're like demonetizing your channel and taking everything down. In the meantime, everything has been moved to unlisted. People will not be able to find it. You'll still see it, will still see it. Do not change anything. Do not delete anything. Do not add anything. Then they gave me the 10 days to go through the appeal process, which was like way more strenuous than any appeal. I've been like stricken before. I've appealed. I've always won. But this appeal process was like different than any appeal process I've ever seen before. So it was a 5-minute video. It was like limited to 5 minutes. You had to cover the entire content of whatever it was that you got in trouble for, which was pretty much, I guess, my entire channel. Since they took everything, and moved it to unlisted, I would assume it was my entire channel. In the email, as you can see, they did not put any specific content that I had gotten in trouble for. So I guess it was my job to figure it out. But in this 5-minute video, they wanted you to defend everything on my channel. And by defend, they meant like, tell us how you film, how you edit, how you put together pre-recorded videos. When you stream live, how do you live stream? When you script write, how do you script write? Like, just a lot of work. Okay. Like an overall ton of work. And I had already created a Patreon page, and I was already thinking, just from like the standard getting a nasty email from YouTube and then going through the appeal process, even though I was winning the appeals, I was literally already thinking about leaving the platform. I had already warned some people. I had already promised some people, like, when I do, I promise I'll tell you first. And then I got the nasty email from YouTube, and I was like, "Ooh, I feel like Ray, I'm going to collect my funds and go." Now, bear in mind that I say that not even aware that he really did collect his funds and go, but that was what was said to me. So I was like, I feel the same way. I'm just going to grab my money and hit the dusty trail. So that was what I opted to do. Instead of going through the appeal process at all, or even trying, I literally went straight from the email back into my YouTube thing, hit the earn button, and hit leave the partnership program. So when I left the partnership program, I still didn't know at that point, can I change the status of everything from unlisted back to public? I literally did not know still. So I decided to take all of my content down because no one could find it anyway with it in unlisted status. So I took all of my content down. I'm going to try to slowly start reinserting content and see if I'll be in trouble or not. But if it doesn't, then we're fine. The suspension was for 90 days. So that means that after the 90 days, I would have been able to be back in the partnership program anyway. So after 90 days, if that's what I wanted to do, I could always do it again. But basically, I suspended myself so that the issue, whatever it was, wherever it came from, could no longer be a problem for me. Shifted over to Patreon and got all my money back already. So there you go. It was well worth it.
And what is how do people find you on Patreon? That way, if they want to go out there and locate you, how do they do that?
Let's see. I can drop my link in the chat.
Yes. Go ahead, and I'll go ahead and
yeah. So basically, I switched over there because I just felt like it's a little bit more personal. You can kind of, if you're a member, you can like have participate in chats with me and stuff like that. There's like a group chat for our entire like Patreon, like all my Patreon members and stuff like that. Just some really nice stuff that I can't really get going here on YouTube anyway. So I still post, and I want to, as I can, for my YouTube viewers for free, right on YouTube. But as far as like me making any money off of YouTube, I literally was like, okay, as far as people saying, oh, you're doing this for clicks and views, if I literally leave the YouTube paid partnership program, then they can't tell me that anymore. So there's that as well. So there was a number of factors that played into the decision. But my Patreon was created the day after Valentine's Day, way before I got the nasty email from YouTube. And I had already pretty much thought that I, for my own mental health, was going to be leaving the YouTube platform. It's just not too awesome a place for me. So yeah,
it can be rough in the streets of YouTube. I'll be honest with you. You know, the folks, some folks can be harsh. They can go after a few people. They can, the comment section can be nasty. I went through probably about, oh gosh, I want to say about 4 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. I said, you know what? I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing the trolls. And so I just started blocking them. I was like, I don't want to hear it. It's not welcome here anyways. And if, it's not, to me, I felt like, hey, will it detract some subscribers? Yeah, probably so. And it did. My channel took a little bit of a hit there. But then I thought to myself, well, what's going to happen is it's going to allow those who are civil and or are like-minded, because I don't care if somebody comes in and has a different of opinion, as long as they're respectful about it, you know what I mean? And so I'm going to get either civil opposition or like-minded folks, but either way I'm going to get a community that I'd rather be around, and more of those folks are going to come in and feel safe to also communicate. Because when you have somebody in your comments or someone just cussing people out, or whatever the case may be, calling people names based on their opinions, it detracts them as well from wanting to go and comment and be a part of your show. Or for me, at least, that's what I thought. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna block all of you guys, and you guys won't be able to talk. And it doesn't really matter. I don't read it. As soon as I start seeing something, boom, all right, remove, block. I don't read the rest of it. It doesn't bother me. Somebody wrote a big old novel once, about a bunch of things, but they were being super rude and disrespectful. I read about 3 sentences of it, and I was like, man, this person took a lot of time out of their day, but because of how ugly they were, gone. And that's just the way it is, for me, at least. And I think that when somebody gets blocked or somebody's not allowed to comment like that, they want to come and watch, and that's one thing, but I think that it also detracts them from coming to the channel and doing crazy stuff too. So
Yeah. That's where I was, and I had been doing that for I don't know, quite some time, and it seemed like, honestly, well, to be fair, I know that some of these people run in the same circles. So you block one of them, and then the other 5 of them start reporting, and then before you know it, the entire channel's been reported. And I don't know. So Marilyn from Tarot Clarity asks, sorry if you don't mind, are you allowed to speculate who reported your channel? Was it a certain DA's office in Idaho or a pro worker? That's scary. I don't have any idea. It could have been anyone, and it was the entire channel, apparently.
That's crazy.
Everything was moved to the unlisted section, and the email contained no information as to what I should go back and justify in the appeal. And I think it was because it was the entire content of the channel. So there wasn't like a long 150 item list of things that I needed. It was just the channel. So I don't know who it was, and I don't know how it happened.
Yeah, early on when me and the guys started the channel and we started talking about random things. Well, not talking about random things, but we started talking about true crime. Let me be more specific. But we started saying things that we weren't aware of that YouTube didn't like. And we would just say them because we're like, man, we're all adults here. We don't want to be, somebody going out there saying some childish stuff, right? And then we found out quickly, all of a sudden, we're getting limited. And I would ask YouTube, I'm like, well, what word did we say? So we don't have to say that. And they wouldn't tell us anything. They wouldn't tell us what part of the video. They wouldn't tell us anything. So I know exactly the frustration that you're going through. That's crazy that they reported you and YouTube did something like that. I've had my channel reported like quite a few times, but it's never done anything like that. They've limited me on like maybe two of my content, but as soon as I just clicked there's a little button that says click review, and boom, it just turned it from yellow to green. So that's insane that YouTube did this. So I think it's probably got a little bit more. I know a lot of people are wondering because you've had some things from Idaho specifically to do with your channel that you've noticed, right?
Yeah.
And for those that haven't seen that, what is that connection from your channel to to Idaho, specifically with this case and Bryan Kohberger?
Toward the end of the summer of 2024, I conducted the interview with Garrett Discovery regarding the social map and the alleged Instagram connection between Bryan, Maddie, and Kaylee. I made Kaylee's family aware that I was going to be conducting the interview. Their general questions were regarding that they wanted me to ask were regarding how the law enforcement officials and the prosecutors could go back and recreate the social media map to establish the connection. So we've been working that out over the course of time, or at least trying to. And on the 7th of September, a few weeks after the interview launched on my YouTube channel, someone from the Idaho government, I still don't know exactly who, came to our YouTube channel and embedded something into the idaho.gov intranet, which I believe would be the Andrew Garrett video. Now, once upon a time, I could not really determine, because there were so many videos on my YouTube channel, I could not determine exactly if they had taken the Andrew Garrett video. Or if it was something else or multiple things. But now that I removed the entire content of my channel, and the only thing that I still have on the channel from back then is the Andrew Garrett interview, I can now go into my analytics, since I only have 3 videos posted on YouTube currently, and I can still find idaho.gov in there, and it has to be the Andrew Garrett video that they embedded. That's the only thing that's left. So at that point, we were one day, because it was September 7th, we were one day past the state of Idaho's discovery deadline. So where we have gotten with what I did there and the interview, I don't actually know. The last that I knew was right around Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
I reached out to Andrew Garrett, and no one had reached out to him at that point. So I don't know.
Yeah, and those, Janet's asking, who's Andrew Garrett? From what I understand, is Andrew Garrett was the first person that Ann Taylor reached out, referencing the phone pings, and they wanted to utilize him versus, and I think he was too expensive, so they went with Cy Ray. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And what they did was, as a side project, was put his emails into their, is it like a an algorithm that they put it into to search for his social media accounts, correct?
So they use a program. It's called Shadow Dragon. Shadow Dragon was created by another company. So I want to preface what I'm going to say with Andrew Garrett is not the only person who's done this and found the exact same connection. There was a second company. So the Shadow Dragon company itself actually created a subsequent connection. But initially, Andrew Garrett and the Garrett Discovery Company, using the Shadow Dragon software, created what is an alleged social media connection between Bryan, Maddie, and Kaylee. So you input into Shadow Dragon information that you would get from different kinds of background checks. So he named a lot of them off. They do all kinds of background checks. And they compile the information. The information that they compile is provided a statistical range as to how likely it is to be valid and real and belong to me or you. And then the more credible information is what they put into Shadow Dragon. That type of information, emails, phone numbers, addresses, whatever it is that they can pull together information from various sources that then come together to create a map of what you do on the internet, or a map of your social media. Who are you friends with? Who do you talk to? Who are they friends with? Who do they talk to? And it becomes this enormous thing. So our social media map would be myself and you, and then everyone that you speak to, all 40,000 of your viewers and the 4,000 of mine. And certainly within your 40,000 viewers are likely to be my 4,000. So we would overlap and it would be all drawn out.
Mhm.
This social media map allegedly contains Twitter, Snapchat, Skype. There was all trails, a lot of different things, and the location of the VPN that Bryan was using. So all of these things start coming back together down the road now in the documents that are starting to come out. His DeSales University email address was connected to the Garrett Discovery document.
I saw that.
Opposed to that was his Washington State University email address. So there's a lot of things that are starting to overlap. The location on the Garrett Discovery document is one of the locations from the IP address, the VPN IP addresses. So there are things that are starting to overlap, but at the same time, we keep hearing in court, there's no connection, there's no connection, there's no connection. So I cannot say that there is a connection. I can only report what I was told and state that I do believe it. But even if they never prove that there is a connection, I'll still believe it.
Well, would it have to be two ways to be connected? Like, for instance, if somebody's following someone online, but the other person isn't following them back, would that be considered, just a one-way a connection? Because I mean, if not, I had former FBI agent Jen Coffindaffer on the show the other night. I'm not sure if you saw that.
I did.
Yeah, and she mentioned that the stalking aspect could have been like because of some of the terms that they use in Idaho, that the other person would have had to have known that they were being followed, that this would be more of a case of surveilling. Could there be, because of terminology, that not be a connection because it's not going back both ways?
I do believe so. Yes, because if you think about it, a connection requires both. Any connection, whether it's an internet connection, a telephone connection, a connection requires some sort of tetherance to the other between the two items. So I'm wondering if because there wasn't a connection back, right? Then the connection it doesn't exist. It's a broken link.
Right. Because it seems like those email addresses and, not just the Garrett Discovery, but their screenshots of that Instagram profile utilizing those email addresses and following the victims. And this is screenshots that were taken before Bryan Kohberger's arrest was made. It's just weird, for the state to come out and say there's no connection there. And yet you have that discovery document, and then you have those images of the social media, which means if it's real, it wouldn't be hard to find. I mean, what's online should be easy to pull up. It's not like it's disappearing or whatever. Just very odd to me. One other thing I wanted to tell you, I don't know if you caught this in the interview, but did you catch what Jen said about the Papa Rogers?
Oh, I catch everything that she says about Papa Rogers, but go ahead. Which thing did she say this time? Because I don't know if I caught it this time. I usually do, but she and I think the same thing about that. So go ahead.
So we were talking about Dateline, and we're talking about the knife sheath and when it was purchased. Dateline had reported that it was in April of 2022. I think it may have been about that time, may have been a month earlier in March, but that it was purchased in the spring of 2022. And we were talking about that, and she had told me that the same sources or that the information that she got from them about the Amazon purchase, they also are the same ones that told her that Papa Rogers was indeed Bryan Kohberger. What did you think about that? Did you hear that?
See, I remember hearing the part about the purchase in April, well, like I guess the beginning or something of April, but I don't remember her saying for sure that she had found. No, I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. But she and I have talked about, so actually, we talked about it since too, because on that episode, she's like, I'm not really sure I'm familiar with that creator. And I'm like, yeah, she is. So no, I seriously don't think she knew that I had a YouTube channel. We speak on
Gotcha.
it. So when I reached out to her and I talked to her about that, we realized how many things we've actually talked about before, and Papa Roger is one of them. Yeah. So I think that for sure that he is Papa Roger, and that's a part of what's in the social media connection. It's not just that there was a following on Instagram. And even if there wasn't a following on Instagram, I think the reason for searching through the 67 devices and third-party apps is to determine if he was any of those online people who seem to be throwing things into the mix or dropping clues. So there's that.
Yeah. You know, because, well, the biggest thing is the knife sheath, right? Papa Rogers is the one that came out saying that he may have left the knife sheath because they're looking for a specific knife. That's interesting. Even now thinking about that, they're looking for a specific knife. You might assume maybe they found the knife, maybe they found part of the knife, maybe the knife may have broken. You got 4 victims, those type of things. But to go to that the perpetrator left the knife sheath behind it, that ended up being the case. That's interesting. I do think there was some things that he was off on, but that could have been on purpose, just so that it wouldn't, be obvious. But yeah, I mean, if it ends up coming back that it is him, in a way I'm surprised, because and in a way I'm not. And the reason behind that is because with criminals, when they commit a crime, getting involved in the case is sometimes something that they'll do, whether they go to the police department and announce that they were in the area, or they may have been a witness, Richard Allen, for instance, or somebody who may have been a part of a search party and they were the ones who were involved in the crime itself. And is Bryan Kohberger allegedly being, Papa Rogers or inside looking, as many people are pointing out in the chat? Is that like a modern way of involving yourself in the case, talking about it and being, because I think, in my opinion, law enforcement was watching, the chats and stuff, wanting to see if this person would come up. There was a person who had spoken on another channel who ended up not being Bryan Kohberger or the killer, but a lot of people thought that he may have been. And I think that brought a lot of attention to a lot of people, that maybe perhaps, even though that situation was faked, that he could end up calling some other place or being involved in a chat or things of that nature. And I think we kind of see that later with the search warrants and stuff, because they are looking in his social media. Is that correct? I think you've gone through most of those search warrants, right?
They are looking at pretty much, and there's no warrant for 4chan, but the remainder of the social media avenues upon which there were like personas engaged in the conversation that were a little shady, inside looking, outside looking, on Reddit, Papa Roger on Facebook, Dave from YouTube. We have a warrant for all of those things. And it's specifically for Bryan Kohberger's this or that, TikTok, YouTube, the silhouetted man from TikTok. We have a warrant for Bryan's TikTok. So we can all have these social media things. But is the specific account that belongs to Bryan going to be the one that goes back to being the caller who was Dave on YouTube, or the silhouetted man who was dropping clues on TikTok, or inside outside looking on Reddit?
Right. Yeah.
And also the Spotify. Yes.
Do you think that if he ended up being one of these people that were online, is that going to come up in trial?
I do believe so. I think that.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out the nicest way to put this. I think that a lot of people are stuck on the social media connection, like the Instagram connection. I really don't think that that is actually like a factor here. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. They can prove him guilty. But I think what they're really driving for there inside of social media is actually connecting him to these crimes by having information that he should not have, and being one of these people who was dropping clues online. So people are so caught up in social media connection thinking that it means that they're going to tether this Instagram thing. But there's something so much more deep than just a following someone on Instagram or attempting to send someone messages on Instagram. It's actually more so related to, are any of these people who are online this person? Because this person shouldn't have had any information. Papa Roger did seem to have information. Inside looking and outside looking, though, those were deterrent accounts, as I like to call them, because they weren't trying to say that they knew what happened in the same way that Papa Roger was. Papa Roger was just smarter than everyone else. But inside looking and outside looking was literally blaming everyone else. While Papa Roger went through and said, can't be Jack, he's already cleared. Can't be Adam, he's already cleared. David and David have already been cleared. But the other personas on other avenues were saying things like, look at Jack, look at Adam, look at David and David. So
Right.
I'm wondering, are they going to try to connect him to some or all of these accounts? And then what story will that tell? Will that tell you that he was both the person who was throwing other people under the bus, as well as this person who had all this additional information because they knew what really happened? So I just think that a lot of people get caught up thinking that social media, it means just only this Instagram thing, but it doesn't. There's a lot, it's deep. The social media thing is deep, and it goes back to Steve saying the digital footprint is where they got him.
Yeah, well, I do think there's going to be a huge digital footprint there. I mean, they spoke about several devices and terabyte and a tremendous amount of terabytes of information that they've pulled from them that they'll be using. Rebecca says, I thought they already proved it wasn't Papa Rogers. I don't think they have. I think there's been a lot of folks who have come out and said that they've seen him post things, including myself. You know, I saw a post from somebody claiming to be Papa Rogers.
I've been harassed over the last year by someone claiming to be Papa Roger. So,
Yeah.
and I don't by any means think it's the same account because it's on a completely different platform. So just saying that there could have been a legitimate like OG Papa Roger account, and then there's obviously various other knockoff Papa Roger accounts. I can also say that I have been sent a screenshot of what people believe is the original account of Papa Roger. And it goes back years and years. So,
yeah, I saw one about a fish, about a trout that he's like, oh, I go fishing for a few days, and I come back and catch 32-pound trout, which I don't know, it didn't make sense what he had said, but the fact was that he had posted it after Bryan Kohberger's arrest. But it was just a screenshot. I never could find the actual account that posted it. It was always just a screenshot that was around. I don't know if he is Papa Rogers or not. I think a lot of people look at that at the Sheath comment. There was some other things that he had mentioned that weren't right, but as I said before, I think they could be things so that way he's not looked at right away. Because I mean, if he obviously goes out there and he starts saying everything that's spot on. Oh, this thing happened between 4 and 4:20. There was a white Elantra outside. The guy left the knife sheath in the top, third floor, left the doors open, and the dog was running around. If he put something like that out there, that account is going to get searched and flagged and looked at. They're going to try to find out
I think
IP addresses
that
and stuff.
I think that there was also the post on, and remember, people were reporting the person that I was arguing with in that Facebook group that was Papa Roger. So
Right.
remember that person had posted like a little tiny diagram of where they thought each victim was. And I think that alone would have gotten them flagged because of the fact that they had the placement of the bodies correct, even though they had Ethan on the floor and Xana in the bed. Just the idea that they knew that anyone had ended up on the floor, despite the fact that we were all being told that they were asleep in their beds. I think that alone would have gotten the person flagged. So
that could have. That definitely could have. how certain are you that Ethan was on the bed?
I am not. I actually believe he was on the floor along the side of the bed against the wall.
Gotcha. You think it's him or his blood that's outside the house?
I do.
It would make sense. What are your thoughts about Murphy and the fact that he was barking and he was outside at certain points? Kohbergers want to make people believe that somebody escorted him in and out of that house.
Some people don't even believe that that was Murphy. Some people believe that that's some other dog in the neighborhood that was alerted and became aware from the noise that was going on. But I mean, I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just saying that there are some people who think that that could just even be another dog and that we really don't have any way of proving that it was Murphy. But as far as I think Murphy was just very scared.
It was
it was
a
just
very
terrible.
cold night. It was a very cold night. Whatever dog it was a dog outside. Freezing temperatures, 4 a.m. Maybe somebody let their dog out if somebody's waking up that early, but
Well, I have an idea. It's a little heartbreaking, but I do have an idea. The slider was left open and the dog's other parent only lives a few doors down. And I'm pretty sure that he knows how to get to Jack's house. So if it was the dog outside and the dog is Murphy, I'm wondering if he was trying to go get help for Kaylee and he was trying to get to Jack, the only person that he knew, go get dad. And then after 30 minutes of trying with no success, maybe he went back in and laid down on Kaylee's bed.
It's quite possible. I mean, I didn't think about that, but yeah, he definitely could have gone that direction. But I definitely think it's him out there, just the temperatures and stuff. If anybody had their dog out there in that temperature throughout the night, I mean, I get it. Maybe there are some dogs that are built for it, some of these like dogs that pull sleds in snow and stuff like that. But even if it's another dog, it's just what it does is it tells you the timeline. Now, to have all the doors open, including the back sliding glass door and Kaylee's room, that door open. So that is the one dog that we know for a fact that's in that area that could have gone outside. The other ones, it's, we don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was a canvas of the area and I'm sure people were asking like, hey, did you leave your dog? Officers were probably asking, did you leave your dog outside? Do you have a dog? That's one of the things I would have been asking if I was in that area. And so, the little footnote there says there was a test and stuff. So I'm hoping they thought of, all right, let's see if there's any other dogs in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But based on the test, it would have had to have been outside. It would have had to have been pretty close
at that time. Mm-hmm.
And at that time, and I'm assuming that they probably would have lined up like the sounds and frequencies and things of that nature. So more than likely they were going to be able to tell how far away from the camera those sounds are coming from. So it's probably not a dog too far away. And so that limits your search. Did the persons in the 1112 King Road house have an animal? Did the persons in the two houses behind them or the houses or the apartment complex in front? Given that area is mostly rental properties, we'll see. I mean, I doubt it. I don't even know if they were supposed to have a dog themselves.
I don't think they were.
And so if there's a lack of dogs in the area, I think one can say, yeah, that was Murphy's, which explains a lot. I mean, Murphy was a puppy. He wasn't a grown dog. He was a golden doodle. And so, those dogs weren't bred for protection / guard, job. So he ran outside scared and was barking. But the fact that he had no blood on him and the doors were open, a lot of people question, why didn't he go into that room? I don't know anything about, I mean, I have quite a few dogs, but I don't have an answer for that. I have no idea. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I've been asked, why would he not have any blood on him? And my answer will always be the same. Our personal experience or our personal opinions of what dogs we've had experience with would do, they don't apply here.
Yeah.
One way or the other, the dog doesn't have any DNA on him. Okay, apparently. And he doesn't look like he's walked through the crime scene. But furthermore, the crime scene pictures are clearly able to depict, it would sound like, that there's not bloody paw prints. So maybe the dog didn't go in there. To me, I just feel like it's very simple, although we don't have any definitive answer. But to me, that's the most likely answer of all the ones we're going to come up with to guess.
But if the dog went up the stairs after the fact, right? That would tell us that there's no blood on the stairs, right? Because he would have walked through it. So allegedly, Bryan Kohberger committed this crime. The killer would have came down the staircase. A lot of people are saying he's drenched in blood, and there should be blood everywhere. But if Murphy's climbing up the same staircase, and he's not tracking any blood, tells me that the scenes in between the bedrooms are probably fairly clean.
Yes, I think so too.
What do you make of the vacuum thing that Dylan may have seen?
Oh, I think that's going to be, the knife. And I think that's going to be the thing at trial, that they know Dylan has the right man at the right time, because what she thought was the vacuum type object was the K-bar knife that belonged in the sheath they found upstairs. Which part of a vacuum could she be referring to? The crevice tool, the handle of the K-bar is kind of ribbed and rigid like a vacuum cleaner hose. So I don't know which portion of the vacuum she'd be referring to. But if you think about logically what he should be walking out of this house with in his hands, since they didn't find the weapon at the scene, it would be the weapon. And then if you think about second to that we haven't heard thus far, and it could come out down the road, but we haven't heard thus far about Dylan hearing any loud noises or vacuuming. She didn't think anybody was cleaning. She didn't think anybody was awake. And so I just don't see it being what she described it as. So that's for sure.
To me, I also think it's a knife. And I think that also goes into the mindset of what she was thinking and how out of pocket she was with what was really going on in that area in that time. She saw somebody masked with a knife, and in her mind she saw what could have been a firefighter, she described, and she also saw a person who was carrying a vacuum attachment.
Let's blend that together. Firefighter, hose, vacuum hose. I don't know what was going on in this girl's mind at the time, but whatever it is, she's clearly got the wrong item and the wrong idea. But yeah,
exactly. So that just tells us that perhaps something nefarious happening was also going on in her mind, but that she was conflicting it and that she didn't know. And that whole 8-hour thing, I know everybody looks at it and says, hey, it took her 8 hours to call 911, but it seems like she didn't trust what she knew, and that's why she didn't call. She didn't trust that it was.
I agree. I think it took her 8 hours to realize that what she thought she saw is exactly what she saw, and that she was distorting things. And maybe her own trauma in life caused her to do that. But
yeah, it's just crazy that they're scared, and she sends that text message, "I'm scared." And I know a lot of people are saying it says I'm screwed. It does not say I'm screwed. It says I'm scared.
No, it does. It says I'm scared. It follows up, run down here. And she says, I'm scared though. And she said, yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone. And that conversation actually makes sense.
That, and if you look at the way it was typed, right, the R is capitalized. If you look at where the A is next to the cap button. And so
whereas in Scrooge, she would have been missing both E's. So it's not that. Yeah.
Exactly. So she hit the caps button instead of the A, and then the W instead of the E, and that's where you get screwed. But it's actually I'm scared, and it's not everything, right? This is just the hearsay aspect of it.
And I think people need to be graceful about the way her texts are coming out because she's nervous. So she might be shaking.
And
And it might just be coming out the best way that it can while she's nervous and shaking.
it also sounds like Bethany slept through most of it, because
I agree.
to me, her statements about Xana wearing black, this is the hearsay aspect, right? So if Dylan said, I saw someone wearing all black, that's not hearsay. That's her first person. And so it picks up, with, well, Xana was wearing all black. And then she goes, no, I saw a ski mask. So that means that from what I can tell from that is that it was like Dylan saying, I saw somebody in black, and Bethany trying to comfort that statement by saying, well, yeah, but Xana was wearing black, so maybe that's who you saw.
Either trying to comfort the statement or trying to filter for herself. Okay, is she tripping the fuck out because Xana was wearing black? So does she just think she saw someone who was super tall? Like, what's going on right now? And then she, at the same time, I believe, because Dylan had seen the person. So this person's obviously on the second floor in Xana's room at that time when this is going on. So I think that also made Bethany refer to Xana because that's a second floor person who had on the all black. Hey, girl, are you sure you're seeing what you're seeing? That's what I think she was trying to clarify there to make sure, okay, do I need to be alarmed?
Right. But the thing is, where does the naked man come from? Because there's been all these reports that Bethany saw a naked man outside or something to that effect.
With a backpack. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
and it doesn't sound to me like that's what they saw.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that anywhere. I got into an argument with a lawyer. Yeah, I think you know who he is, because he was very adamant at me that happened. And I was like, I don't know if that happened. But he was adamant. He doesn't like me. He's a defense attorney. But he was very adamant that Bethany saw somebody outside without clothes. And I was like, I don't understand how that excludes Bryan Kohberger unless the person she says she saw was of a different race, height, weight, stuff like that, right? But if she says she saw somebody outside, without any clothing, it doesn't mean that the person who was inside didn't take their clothes off after they exited. You know what I mean? So that was the argument that I was having with that attorney. But I was like, where did you even get this? And this very, very adamant that this was real. I don't know. I believed him because of how adamant he was. Do you believe that this happened at all now?
I'm trying to see if I can find something. I wanted to read you something because it was the way that it was said to me. I was told that was a rumor. So in my message that I have, it says, and then at the very beginning, there were some really weird rumors that one of the roommates saw a naked man running out of the house with a backpack. So, preface, it was stated in that message that it was rumor. However, the person that I got it from is a very valid individual, and this individual was concerned about Bethany seeing the naked man run out of the house with a backpack. So they were consciously stating, yeah, it was a rumor, but they were also concerned that it carried truth. If that makes any sense to you. So I don't really know what to make of that because I've always kind of put it off to the side as possibly just being a rumor. And I only say that because there became a point where I transitioned from thinking that maybe, as I told you plenty of times, from thinking that maybe Bryan had someone who was an accomplice to maybe that if he is guilty, then he did this alone. And it was at that point where I decided, okay, then that doesn't make sense. Then if it's just Bryan, I have to make a decision. Did Dylan see this person leaving the house fully clothed? Or did Bethany see this person leaving the house with no clothes on? Because they couldn't both have seen this person leaving the house and seen it in two completely different ways. That's not possible. So I kind of always pocketed the naked man thing over to the side, only because in the PCA, they speak specifically about Dylan seeing the person go toward the slider, and then they believe that means the person left because surveillance camera then shows the car going back by. That story has more evidence to support it than the story of the naked man. So the naked man is off to the side to me. I'm going with this person left wearing what Dylan saw him in.
Yeah, no, and I totally get that. You know, the argument that I had with the defense attorney, he told me that he had documents. This subpoena is what he made it appear to be for Bethany, that he had seen documents or has the documents that says it's something about a naked man. And I was like, whoa, well, I mean, if you got the documents, it's not out yet. Maybe you know somebody I don't. To me, though, what I had thought, and this was after the fact, once the Ann Taylor came out with that there was this unknown DNA or unknown blood sample on a handrail, and we found out that it was on the first floor. Immediately, that's where my mind went to with Bethany. I was like, are they trying to say and connect to Bethany? Did she hear somebody go downstairs at any point? Because if she did, then that blood, they can try to say, all right, well, now that blood speck that's on the handrail is in play, because now we know that the person had traversed down to the first floor, because there's nothing in what's in the PCA or anything else that says that. And so right now, there's nothing that we can say that, or there's nothing that, well, the defense can't say because it's in the property, but it's not that strong of an evidence to say that, hey, there's a speck of blood on the first floor where we know that the killer didn't go, right? And there was 100 and some odd people within that house within that weekend.
Right.
So could that have been the killers? Could that have been somebody else's? We don't know if the killer ever went down there, but there was a lot of people in there, so who knows? Now, Bethany says, I heard somebody come down the stairs. Well, now the defense can say, well, who's to say now that that speck of blood isn't the killer's and it doesn't match Bryan Kohberger? So that's where my mind went to right away when I saw that they were going to bring in that DNA, and they threw in earlier, Bethany, and they wanted to know what she had seen and heard and all this other stuff. What are your thoughts on the blood on the handrail there on the first floor?
So I wonder where they would be going with bringing it up. So we know Xana was chased down the stairs. We know Dylan left her room at some point and went down the stairs. We know that Ann Taylor is trying to shift the timeline. So I'm wondering if maybe she's going with the possibility that there was still someone in the house when Dylan ran across the house to go down the stairs. Obviously, how long the DNA had been there would make a difference. But I'm wondering if maybe she's going with that. I'm wondering if it's on the actual, like the handrail, or if it's on like the banister. It doesn't, and I mean, that sort of is a handrail in itself. So I'm not really sure exactly where to think it is, if I want to think that it necessarily is on the up and down, like diagonal handrail, or if it's on the horizontal banister. But either way, I'm wondering if it relates to the fact that we now know Dylan moved around the house, and that she's also trying to put this time frame somewhere else. And that even after this person would have left the home at 4:19-ish, Dylan's still scared to go out of her room. So I think she's drawing at, is there a reason why she's scared even after the car left? It could be because she didn't know the car and the person had left, but is it because there's still things she's hearing? Is it because there's still someone there? Is it because after she ran out of her room, someone may have even seen her, the person that she might think is still in the house? But I think there's something there about what the defense is trying to build as their defense. Um, I'm just not really.
Well, the handrail DNA, I think, is an unidentified male DNA. So I don't think it'd be related too much to Dylan.
No, not related to Dylan, but more so related to a perpetrator who's still in the house while Dylan's moving around.
Oh,
Or
understood.
so, like, say it's on the handrail going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Dylan just ran down those stairs. Okay, so can Bethany
Somebody run up after her?
but do they have to run or can they creep? Does it
Right.
have to be a run? Is Bethany able to hear someone creeping down the stairs from her room? Or, does it have to be heavy foot traffic?
Mhm.
Even so, if this person is that close coming behind Dylan, and they're that scared, are they even aware that this person is coming down the stairs? Who even knows, right? She can play this a million ways from Sunday with that blood on the handrail. Based on how old it is. I don't really think that blood on the handrail could have been that old and her have room to wiggle with it, other than bringing it up. So we'll find out what comes from the blood on the handrail. It doesn't really excite me. I know some people are like, the blood in the house is super important compared to the blood on the glove outside because this is a college campus and stuff like that. But I would actually say, look back at the transcript. She said gloves outside, more than one. So blood found on some gloves outside, plural. So I'm wondering if maybe that would actually be what should be more important than a single speck of blood on the handrail in the house.
According to Jen Coffendaffer, she said that it was a glove, but she said that it was found like 2 or 3 weeks earlier, or like at the end of November, and that it was a workman's glove, and it was like right by the perimeter and near the trash can.
I agree. I agree with every single part of that. I am just recalling back to someone in your comments here actually just said, wasn't there a dog that was being walked around 8 o'clock in the morning and that person saw the door open? Okay. Yes. And once upon a time, it was also stated by Olivia Goncalves, if you were walking your dog the next morning and your dog found a glove in the bush, let the police know. And I don't know if she was just saying that as an example or if a dog really was being walked the next morning and found a glove in the bush. And is it the dog of the person who said the door was wide open?
Yeah.
So is there more than one glove or just one glove? Because again, in the court transcript, it says blood on some gloves outside. More than one. So I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the documents, to be honest with you. I don't recall. I do know that there was the interview room glove that was found. I don't know if that's the same glove or not. I don't think it is. I think that's a different one. So that could be the second glove. But either way, it wasn't found that day. And the fact that you have like what looks like a party in the house from the pictures, you have a beer pong set up, you have beer bottles and cans and red Solo cups everywhere. You have food everywhere as well. It was quiet that night in that neighborhood. Neighbors have said it, so all that stuff wasn't from that night, and so that means that there's a bunch of DNA in there from all over the place. And so the handrail DNA, although it sounds it's important, I think that what has to happen is, all right, where else is this DNA at? Like, if this person has blood, that means that they have broken skin somewhere. Where else is it? Is it also in the bedroom? Is it also somewhere else? Or is it just in this one tiny spot way over here? That makes it difficult. You know what I mean? For it to be that highly important. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, if it was Bryan Kohberger's blood, would it have been as big? And I think it'd be huge. But the thing is, the difference is there's other evidence that corroborates Bryan Kohberger being there. This car, his phone being off, the description, although vague, still kind of matches his, or doesn't exclude him. The surveillance of the car without the license plate, everything else, the DNA in other parts of the house, like in the sheath, it would make a bigger difference because there's more corroborating evidence
Right.
than just
So I
that.
think what you're saying is basically this drop of blood on the handrail. How does it tie into the scenes? What happened here within one of these scenes that leads to blood being on the handrail then?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That has to have happened. Now, if there was like, all right,
I
there was
agree.
a drop of blood over here and then another drop of blood there, or even if the unidentified male DNA from the gloves outside and the one on the handrail, if those match. But I don't think they do. I don't think, because
I
there's
don't think so.
male B and male A or something like that. Male A
Yeah,
and male B and
because
male
they were
C.
different lettered. Yep, I think so too. I don't think they're the same person.
So even those people aren't the same person. If it was, if they said, all right, we have, unidentified male DNA and it's here and here, and those are the same unidentified male. Yeah, then you might have a problem there, but it's not. And so that kind of makes it think, or that kind of sets you off saying, all right, what's more important? And we have to look at the time when this was happening. You had 4 people whose lives were taken. Time is of the essence. And so what's more important? Are we going to look at the DNA that's on the handrail that could be from anybody, from anyone? Or we're going to look at the DNA on the knife sheath, an item that we do know that the killer brought in, which, even if, let's just say, it's not the actual killer's DNA, let's just say he handed, the knife to somebody. Well, we're going to have someone's DNA who came in contact with the killer. We can, trace that guy's or that girl's, footsteps and see if we can come into contact with someone to get a clear path. And so you're going to always go with that. Now, once you get the DNA back, how are you going to decide whether or not this person is a suspect, or if this person is somebody that came in contact with the killer and that you just need to talk to as a witness? We're going to look into what they were doing that night. Do they have the means and opportunity to have committed this crime? Were they out and about? Do they have an alibi? Where was is there footage of their vehicle? What kind of vehicle were they driving? Because we have a white vehicle out here without a front license plate driving around suspiciously. Does he have a vehicle that matches? And when you start matching everything together, then you understand, all right, this guy's not a witness. This guy's your number one suspect. That's why you point at and towards the knife sheath, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Let's see. I wanted to ask you. Gosh, I wrote it down somewhere. Are there any concerns with all these documents that are dropping? Do you see any concerns with anything?
When you say concerns, what are you referring to?
Like, a lot of these are defensive arguments. Do you see the
Concerns
defense
for
winning
who?
any of them?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Like which ones? Like which ones is your most like, oh man, that's a huge one. They should have done this, whether it be like, oh gosh. Well, we talked about the DNAs, the cell phone pings. I mean, I'm not sure. What do you think is the biggest hurdle that you think that the prosecution is going to have to cross?
Bryan being autistic.
Gotcha. How so is that going to be a hurdle?
Well, all right. So give me a few minutes. We'll work through it, and I want to go through it slowly. So just, I have it all written down, but just give me a moment.
All right.
Okay. Atkins, Atkins versus Virginia. A person with an intellectual disability cannot be executed. Okay. Idaho Code 19-2515 A as in alpha 3. A person with an intellectual disability cannot, not should not may not, cannot be executed directly from the Idaho Code. The average United States IQ, 98. In places where people are extremely well known for having prominent intelligence like Japan, 106. To be significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning, you have to have an IQ of 70 or less. To be considered intellectually disabled, there are 3 factors. You have to have an IQ of 70 or less. You have to have significant limitation in your adaptive functioning, and those things have to have been present before you were 18 years old. And they cannot just be things that you say were present before you were 18 years old. You have to be able to medically prove that these things were present before you were 18 years old. Bryan has autism. There's no wiggle room for his defense to say this if he isn't intellectually disabled in that way. So, assuming that Ann is not lying and that this can be proven through his medical records that they have provided to the prosecution, then what that means is that the prosecution doesn't have a choice. Remember, a person with an intellectual disability cannot be executed. So, when you look into what intellectual disabilities qualify, because there are certain ones that qualify, autism is one of them. So what Ann Taylor is trying to tell us is that in his medical history, his mental health history, and his overall general life, before 18, he was already diagnosed autistic. This isn't something we just made up. We're not saying that this developed when he turned 21. We're not saying that this developed 3 months before he committed these crimes and now he's suddenly autistic. That's not how this works. How this works is that he's been autistic and that this was a lifelong issue, because we don't just become autistic. See, a child is not diagnosed autistic until a doctor says so at a certain age, whenever a parent or a doctor notices that there's something. But that child has always been autistic since before the diagnosis. So, if those factors can be found, and there's only 3, IQ of less than 70, significant limitation in his adaptive functioning, and it happened before he was 18, and it's due to autism, as she said, because autism is one of the very specific intellectual disabilities, then Bryan Kohberger cannot be executed. It doesn't mean he can't be guilty, but I think that she could win there because he may not be killed. You're on mute, babe.
And that, thank you, sorry for that. And that would just give him life, right? That wouldn't give him the death penalty, but
They would likely give him life without any chance at parole.
right. And
But
but the
in a
problem
way,
with that
that's
is
also a win, because if he gets the death penalty, he automatically gets an appeal. So if he's guilty, then do you want him to have a chance at appealing this, or would you rather that he just get life without parole and no chance of
well, I don't think
no
he'd
guarantee
win.
of appeal?
I think they know he's toast. I mean, if they're going down this road, but his IQ, 70, that's not the reason why he's autistic. I mean, he's got a he's going for his PhD. He's got a master's degree. He's a very intelligent
I
person.
think we're kind of saying, I think we're thinking about that, not considering the average United States intelligence IQ being 98. 70 is not significantly terribly lower.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is I don't think he's even at 98. I think he's higher than that. You don't get to where he's at without being intelligent. And even committing the crime in the manner that he did, this is well thought out. I mean, he thought about things that I never
See, I think that I'm wondering now if maybe like Dr. Bolger, when she said, that he was just one of the best students she's ever had and one of only 2 that she's recommended to a PhD program. I'm thinking now about that in its entirety. And if this person is capable and they've made it to this level beyond they're reaching beyond a master's degree and they genuinely are autistic, I would be so floored with that too. I would probably recommend that person too. So I actually factored this into other things that we've heard about Bryan, and I think it fits. Back to the school counselor who spoke with Kana Wentworth. I think it fits. I think it fits.
Well, I mean, with the teacher that recommended him, that was an online course. So she even mentioned that she didn't really know him personally or anything like that. So his interactions and stuff, and a lot of the things that would have said that he's autistic, she probably wouldn't have been able to pick up through.
Right. But as his teacher, every teacher would have known that if Bryan was receiving help for his learning disability, like
Right.
extra time and stuff like that. Yeah, they would know that. So she wouldn't need to know him personally to know that. That's just information that's provided to her so that she treats him appropriately as his student.
Right, but that's the extra time stuff is only allowed it is if he needed it. If he's a person that doesn't require extra time because he's extremely intelligent, like for instance, my nephew's autistic and he's extremely intelligent. He's about to jump a couple grades, I think. And you know, the intelligence aspect, learning, understanding, being able to you know, figure things out, he's got it all. But he is autistic. There's no ands, it's buts about it. And you know, when it comes to Bryan Kohberger, I just don't see the intelligence aspect being what drives him down. Not to mention the fact that, you know, his major and where he successfully got his master's degree, that was in the field of criminal justice, which is the ultimate knowing right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I find their argument to be more so, you know, a long shot. But what I do think it does help the defense is the fact that they're trying to eliminate terminology like psychopath and sociopath, whereas they're saying he's autistic. And when you look in the documents don't really mention that his autistic characteristics are due to IQ. It's more so due to reciprocation of feelings and remorse, which is something he did talk about before he was 18. You know, there was those was it that online writing that he had where he was kind of self-medicate or self-coping with, you know, his feelings about remorse, and how he said that his father was a meat sack and how he felt like a meat sack and he's an a-hole and et cetera, et cetera. Those things were there. He was on medication. So I highly suspect he's going to come back that he was diagnosed with those autism and also with potentially being a psychopath or sociopath.
I do. I think so as well. So when people are like, well, does that mean that he doesn't know right from wrong? I want to make it very clear that I'm not debating that someone with autism doesn't know right from wrong. I'm debating that someone struggling with autism, who may also be a sociopath and a psychopath, may not necessarily comprehend right from wrong entirely the same way that we do. But also, I just think that people should be ready for all of what she said to be true. I know people want to believe that he's on the highly functioning end of autism, if he does have autism. Maybe not. There are just some things that say maybe not. His attorney has never really let him, you know, like speak that we know of. When he was speaking to police, he was making outbursts that appear to have been not so much incriminating, but now concerning for his defense attorney. She stated in the 28-page autism spectrum disorder motion to strike this death penalty, that he does have rigid thinking and different types of issues that go along with autism, that he mistakes female niceties for romantic interests and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people want to assume that he has this very high IQ, but at the same time, if I'm just like, hey, Bryan, and he's like, wow, that was a little bit too friendly, I think she likes me. Maybe there's something going on there that is not as high IQ then. And maybe we should really that's the end of the road now. So a lot of nonsense has gone on and people have watched her say a lot of nonsense. So I feel like we don't know what to think. When do we believe her? When do we not? When is she crying wolf? When is she not? But the closer that we get to the end of this, I'm going to assume that she's actually starting to come forth with what's more truthful, especially in front of this judge.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, she did mention the eyebrow thing. Did you see the eyebrows in Dylan's bedroom?
Yeah, I don't really think much of that. Young ladies are extremely obsessed with eyebrows. They draw them on, they pencil them on, they go and pay hundreds of dollars to have them like temporarily inked on and stuff like that. So I'm not really.
This is what she said. Like the way she
Yeah. So
described
for
it.
example,
Yeah.
I see it like two eyes here at the top right corner or whatever.
Uh,
Right below it, if you just scroll down a little more, all the way at the bottom there, another one. Those are not exactly creepy eyes. So that's what I mean. These girls, they actually spend a lot of time concerned nowadays about the shape of an eye and what's the best eyebrow shape that goes with each eye, and it's all a part of makeup. So I don't make much of it. Now, I can't really make out a lot of what else is on this cork board. Some of it looks like terrifying nightmare pictures, but in reality, I think that those are just images of faces that she's drawn and stuff like that. I really don't think it's as creepy as she wants to make it out to be. It is a fact, though. She has eyes and eyebrows on her cork boards. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but the documents made it seem like they're on every wall and there's so many eyes watching her. It was like, and then I saw this and I was like, all right, that kind of looks like one is a cartoon, but she likes the shape of the eyebrows. I think that's what she likes. I mean, that's probably what she was trying to focus on, as far as what she wanted to do with her own eyebrows. I didn't think anything of it. The theatrics on Ann Taylor's side are high, and I think that's kind of the reason why Judge Hippler wanted to be a little bit more transparent in this case. Maybe perhaps he's also seeing some things in other cases like the Karen Reed case, and thinks that maybe it's best if there's not a mob outside the courtroom, and one of the best ways to control that mob narrative and those conspiracy theories is with transparency, like dropping the bomb that Bryan Kohberger purchased the K-bar knife off of Amazon and had it delivered to his house using his credit card. Dropping that was huge. I mean, for people to still debate this after that is insane. I mean, I think that is like the biggest nail in Bryan Kohberger's coffin when it comes to this case. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's going to be the trifecta of things together. You bought it. Your sheath is here, clearly with your DNA on it. And now we don't know where the knife went. It's the trifecta of things. And that's it for him. So.
Yeah, 100%. I just think, and Tumbleweed asks, how dumb is he? I mean, he did make a lot of mistakes. He did that, purchased the murder weapon with his name, had delivered to his house with his own credit card, drove his own car, left the knife sheath behind, took his phone with him. Why are people surprised he got caught? I think that's the biggest question. People are surprised this man got caught yet.
I think that for me, I'm actually now tying that into, because I had been told back in October that Bryan wasn't pristine, that there was something wrong. I was never directed toward autism at all. Okay. But I think it all ties back into the autism. I really do. The failures at being a good criminal, at doing what he planned so well for so long, driving his own car, returning the next morning, knowing that it wasn't a crime scene and not going back in to get his knife sheath. Things like leaving apparently what's going to be the smoking gun, the Amazon Fire Stick, in the back of the TV and stuff like that. And then telling his lawyer, like, oh, go get that Fire Stick out that TV. But it's already too late and stuff like that. I'm wondering if it actually shows that there is a delay in his logic. There is a delay in his thinking.
It could be. It could be. So for those who are interested, because somebody said, how do we know that, he purchased it? Here's the document. Let me copy this down real quick right here. This is the document to exclude Amazon click activity evidence at trial. And this is under the introduction, a couple pages down. says the data produced does not identify the purchaser through means other than by name or credit card. And then it says here, number 2, simply because a package is delivered to a name at a house using the credit card of someone in the house does not indicate that that person is the purchaser when it comes to the Amazon account. So basically what they're saying is that somebody purchased a K-bar knife from Bryan Kohberger's name on his account, and it was delivered to his house with his credit card, but it doesn't mean that he's the one that picked it up. His sister could have picked it up, or somebody else could have.
And if you want to hear that from the judge's mouth, go back to the January 24th hearing, and he uses a TV as the example. But what they're actually arguing about at that time is the Amazon. It was during her argument to suppress the Amazon. And the judge said to her, okay, so if someone purchases a TV, it was actually, she was trying to exclude the witness and say that the witness needs to be an expert in order to go through these records. And the judge was like, no, they don't. If someone purchases a TV and they purchase it with their credit card through their account and they have it delivered to their address that they're related to, and then someone else is stabbed, which said he went on and on and on. And he basically said the same thing, that this item from Amazon was purchased with Bryan's own card and delivered to his own house. And it looks like from an account that maybe he shares with his family. But at the same time, they save stuff like that in your Amazon. So then does that tie into his family maybe having some awareness that he may have done this because they see this weapon in their Amazon history?
I think Dreamer says something to the effect like, doesn't say anything about Kohberger. This is Bryan Kohberger's case. This is a case against Bryan Kohberger.
Everything
something that he wants excluded against the case against them. You know, this is something that he wants excluded to go against him. That's the whole purpose of this. It's not an exclusion of something to go against somebody else. You know, when you do a motion in limine, this is because you want, from the defense's side, you want the prosecution to not have evidence against the defendant. This is literally what that means. This is evidence against the defendant, evidence against Bryan Kohberger. I'm sorry, Dreamer, but I don't understand your logic on that one. But yeah, I mean, when you come in and you say this, that you have this information there, and the defense is basically saying like, oh yeah, you know, you have to look into it more. Like it could have been a lot of other things, you know, reasons why it was purchased or why these items were looked at. You know, other people had access to it. His other family members had access to it. This isn't the first time that he tried to blame other family members. You know, when he came back that the IgG was used, the defense's argument in trial was,
how does he know that that's not one of his cousins?
Right, exactly. Or how many other Kohbergers did they go in interview about their whereabouts on the night of November 13th? And I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? You think he has some sort of evil twin? Go look up that video. It's called Bryan Kohberger Has an Evil Twin. And we discuss it. We bring it up. We highlight where Ann Taylor says this. We display her words. You won't be disappointed. We all get a good laugh out of it. Let's see. All righty, Robert. Well, good for you, my man. See this? I mean, there's not much more I can say to that. Oh man, and he's gone. I mean, with that being said, well, I do gotta get going. Jazz, it was great talking to you again, guys. Make sure you guys are following her. I put her link to her channel in the description. I have a link to her Patreon also pinned, so make sure you go and follow that. Do you have any final words or final questions for me?
That's it. Just thank you for having me. I wanted to say hi to your wife because I did see her in the chat many, many, many times. I tried to stay out of the chat because there were so many people talking crap in there, but I just wanted to say hi to your wife specifically. All my friends in the chat, I actually am posting still over on YouTube again for free. If you want to support the channel with like a monthly membership, join the Patreon thing. If you're someone who just wants to do a one-time donation, We are also Forensic Frenzy on Venmo and Venmo and Cash App. So I'm still available. I'm still around. There's tons of fun stuff on the Patreon if you do become a paid member. And I'm so glad that you still asked for me to be here today, considering the fact that I got my YouTube channel like sucked off into space or something. So.
No, I understand. I wanted to make sure that you're all right. We had so many people that were reaching out to me to ask if you were okay. And so I wanted everybody, in the community to know that you're all right and that you're bouncing back and and where they can find you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, guys. Until next time, we'll see y'all in later. Peace.